now, Viraj, are you okay?
Yes, we are good.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today at the April newbie group session. Hey, look, I know we're on a new platform, and I know we've been spamming you a little bit with notices about converting over to this platform. It's something I'm sorry, but we have to do to get you to sign up for Bevy and get you into this meeting. And thank you for your patience. What we'd like to do, and what we really like to start doing, is we'd like to be able to see where you're from. So if you could just go into the chat and drop in where you're from, and also maybe say good morning to everybody, but you do it in your native tongue. You know, do it in the language that you usually speak, so that we can not only see where you're from, but also see also get a good morning greeting from you.
That's a great idea, Jim.
That's a great idea.
I'm kind of in pause mode right now because I pushed a button and all of a sudden I'm not sure that you're all seeing me. And I'm going, okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. I'm sorry, we're talking a little business here for all the users there. We're on a new platform and it doesn't work the same as the other platform. And I used to be able to see something and I can't see it now. So it just threw me for a loop.
Okay, Simon is also in the room, so welcome, Simon.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay.
Simon, you should be able to. You should be one of the few people that have audio capability. Go ahead and say hi to everybody.
I finally worked out how to use it. Apologies, first time using the new platform, so I got there eventually. Sorry, everyone. Hey, everyone. Great to see you all.
Okay. That brings us right up to this slide. Okay. You know, as I said, we're all on a new platform, so we're doing a little learning here, and thank you for your patience with that. A couple of things to keep in mind for everybody that's out there. You'll notice that first of all, your audio and visual have been disabled just because there's going to be so many of you out there that it would not work to try to have everybody's audio and visual on. We are recording the meeting, and we'll be sending out links to that recording at some point, probably first part of next week. We're going to be able to do that. If you want to communicate with each other, do that in the chat. And apparently you've been doing that fairly well, but as the presentations go on, if you have a question for the speaker, use the Q&A button. It's up there. If you're looking up in the chat window and you look on the upper right-hand side, you'll see Q&A. Put the question and answers in there. It's a little easier for us to follow what are real questions and respond to those real questions if they're not in the chat, because the chat ends up moving very quickly. Just a quick word about this group. This is our second year with the group. It's dedicated to you. This is your group. We're all newbies at something, and you don't have to be a newbie in Tableau to be a member of this group. We meet like every 6 to 8 weeks. We kind of have a flexible schedule that way. That gives us about 7 or 8 meetings a year, and it works out about right. Each meeting has 2 parts. One part of it is the how-to, and how does that work? And Klaus and I will put on a deep dive into a topic, and today we're going to be talking about date functions. And then we have a featured guest speaker, and Simon Beaumont's our guest speaker today. And it's important for you to understand, we decide who the guest speaker is by the suggestions that you sent to us. This is your meeting. We want this meeting to be about what you want it to be about. And we try to bring in speakers and find speakers that are able to speak on topics that are important to you. So if you have an idea for a topic that you want to learn more about, put it in the chat, and who knows, maybe in one of the future meetings, your topic will come up. Today's meeting is we're going to talk about date functions and using dates in metrics, period metrics, like year-to-date calculations, year-over-year calculations. Many of you know that I blog. It is absolutely the #1 topic that gets hit on my blog, and there's literally thousands of people who hit the blog on date functions and doing year-over-year type calculations. After Klaus and I talk about date functions for a while, Simon is really a great guy. He's one of the Tableau visionaries, but Simon is going to talk to us about Center of Excellence, and then we're going to have fun with the Kahoots quiz. Klaus, do you want to take us through the roadmap here?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Also from my side, if you're for the first time with us today, we have some information about what to expect from the next meeting. So at the beginning of the year, we build out this kind of curriculum where we will guide you through some of the most important things to know as someone who just started using Tableau. And we will center our presentations around use cases. Like today, we talk about period calculations, and next time in June, one of my favorite topics is tables. Yes, tables are also data visualizations, and there's a lot you can do with tables in Tableau. And yeah, June 8th, will be about tables and only tables. And we will have Ludovic Tavernier in the room, another Tableau superstar from the community who will talk about dashboard design. So I think 2 great topics in the next meeting in June, and you can already sign up today for this meeting as well. Yeah.
And, the meeting after that is probably one of the most asked for topics from the group members here. And that's about formatting dynamically. I know that's one of your favorites, Klaus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Again, there's a lot we can do, and we will get you started with these topics.
Yeah. But in addition to those meetings, if any of you are going to TC, you get an opportunity to meet Klaus and I, because we're putting on a presentation at that meeting, and that is session 1092, and it's called Tableau 101. It's your path to success as a newbie. I have not seen a date or a time yet. Do you know if they've scheduled a date or time for that meeting yet, Klaus?
No. It's not yet available, but we will share on social media as soon as we know. And it would be great to meet you. We will ask later if some of you will come to Vegas. And anyway, if you see us somewhere around, just come to us and talk to us, and we are happy to get to learn to know you. And it would be great if you could join our presentation as well.
But you know what, Klaus, you've got another presentation at that meeting, don't you?
Yeah, sure. I have a second one. This is also addressing newbies. I will do another presentation with Steve Adams about transitioning from an Excel world, so spreadsheet-oriented stuff, and make the transition to Tableau. So if you want to mark these 2 in your calendar, I would be happy to have you in the room.
Yeah. Well, I plan to go to Klaus's presentation because I think you told me what the title was. Was it Get the Excel Out of Here? Is that the title of the presentation?
Yeah, get the Excel out of here. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, great.
That's a wonderful title.
Yeah. I plan to sit in on that one. Okay. This is the team this is the newbie group team. It's these individuals who do all the work, create all the invitations, all the notifications, everything that you get from any one of us comes from somebody on this team. You may not be aware that we do cover all of the Americas, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. and the team tries to reflect that. I'd kind of like to have everybody identify themselves, or at least some of the people who are here today. Viraj, why don't you tell everybody where you live and how long you've been using Tableau?
Hi everyone, this is Viraj. I'm from Mumbai, India, and I've been using Tableau for quite a while. I would say about 4 years, but still newbie at heart, learning new things daily, and excited to be part of this awesome team. And yep, looking forward for many more such sessions.
Okay, Klaus.
Yeah. So my name is Klaus. I'm from Münster, Germany, and I just saw that my Tableau public profile is up for almost 6 years. So I'm in my 6th year of using the product, and I enjoyed it from the first day. And I'm also happy to be part of this group. And to talk about basic things that everyone starts with, and to share some tips and tricks for all of you.
Laura?
Laura, do you want to go next?
Hi. Yeah, I can go next. So my name is Laura. As I mentioned previously, I am from Chicago, Illinois, US. And I've been using Tableau, I think, since 2018 on and off. And I started using it more so for my work when I think a year or two ago. So that's how I got reintroduced to Tableau. And I'm still, as Viraj says, still a newbie at heart, and I'm still learning things. We watch these videos after, like everybody else in this meeting. So it's always great to be a part of this. And this group has helped me learn so many new things. Jim and Klaus has been absolutely fantastic. So I'm so glad to be here, and I'm really happy that everybody else is joining us as well.
Okay, and I'm Jim Daner. I live in Nashville, and I've been using Tableau for about 7 years now. I know some of you from the forum where I'm. I know some of you from the forum where I'm an ambassador. Laura, do you have a mic open or something?
No, I don't.
Like asli cutie, this was same I think.
Okay.
I think this should fix it.
I know some of you from the forum where I'm an ambassador, and I've
Okay.
been an ambassador for about 7 years. Now, we have some people who aren't on the call today. Enid is in Indianapolis, and Enid's taking a rather extended leave. Enid is on maternity leave, and we're very happy for you, Enid. Reyes is in Fort Collins, Colorado, and Reyes does an awful lot of the work with Laura on creating invitations and sending out notices for us. And then Horace is in Nigeria. We are currently looking for 2 additional people to join the group. So if you're interested in joining the group, just put your name in the chat and contact information in the chat. We're looking for, like I say, 2 people, but we have a bit of a criteria. First, understand we need you to sign up for at least a year. Okay, we want you to be involved for a year. And at least one of the people, we're going to have to start maintaining and taking management of our own recordings, our own YouTube recordings on this. And so we're looking for somebody who's got some experience in the organization and managing YouTube recordings. So if you have that background and you're interested in working with us, just put your name in the chat, and we'll be in contact with you. And maybe you can be part of the team next year and be on the map here. We'll add you to the map.
Awesome.
Klaus, I think we're ready to move on to the next section. And we're going to be talking about date functions, year-over-year calculations, year-to-date calculations, and the like. Before we can really talk about the date functions, we really have to understand how dates are created in Tableau. And I can tell you they're created the same way in Tableau as they are in any of your spreadsheet calculators. If you're using Excel or you're using Google Sheets or anything that works on that basis, they're all done in the same type of fashion. Deep down inside Tableau, there's a floating point number, and that forms the basis for the date hierarchy. And that number is incremented, the whole part of that number is incremented by 1 for each day. And the decimal part of that number represents the decimal part of a 24-hour day to create a hierarchy. And the hierarchy, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, it starts at one end as the year, quarter, month, and day, and that's on the float, the whole part of the number. And then on the decimal part of the number, we've got hours, minutes, and seconds. And you can scroll up and down that hierarchy to look at different parts of the day, the quarter, what quarter it is, what month it is, what day it is. But there's also 3 date parts that aren't part of the hierarchy. And they're very useful date parts. And the one that we use the most, and the one that we see the most, is week. And week is not part of the hierarchy because it doesn't fit into that hierarchy. We know there's 7 days in a week, but how many weeks are there in a month? It doesn't work out to an even number, so it's not part of that hierarchy. There's also weekday, and that's the name of the day of the week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. That's weekday. And there's one that I use quite frequently, but it's not used all that often. It's called Day of the Year. And January 1st is day 1. December 31st is day 365, except in leap year, then it's 366. And day of the year is quite useful when you're doing year-over-year calculations or day-to-day or period-to-period calculations. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the date value inside Excel, for example, or maybe you're using your system date value, and you start comparing it to the Tableau date value, you'll find out there's 2 days difference. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know why they're 2 days different, but that's not going to change. It's going to be that there's always 2 days difference. So if you run into that situation, you say these things are off by 2 days, that's just the way it is. And you just make an adjustment based on that. Now, when we write a date function, there's a syntax, and everything's got a syntax. You're familiar with that not only from your programming days, but also from other systems also. And for date functions, the syntax starts out with the function name. I'm just using date trunc here, but there's other date functions. There's date name and date part, but it starts out with the name of the function. And then inside parentheses, the first argument to date trunc is the level that you want to look at. It's the date, the level in that hierarchy. Do you want to look at the week, or do you want to look at the month, or do you want to look at the year? And you'll note that it's enclosed in quotations. They can either be single quotes or double quotes, but it can't be a mixture. It's always lowercase, and it's always singular. We look at week. We don't look at weeks, or month, not months. The next argument is the date dimension that we're going to look at. And here I've used today. Today is a special value, but I'm looking at today. And the last argument is an optional argument that's available on some functions, and that identifies the first day, the weekday of the first day of the week. Here in the US, by default, dates start on Sunday, or weeks start on Sunday. And if you don't put in any value for the option, it will go to the default, and the default is on Sunday. And I know in other parts of the world, the default is Monday. But here in the US, if I wanted a week to start on Monday and I wanted a date calculation based on a week that started on Monday, I would put in the word Monday. And it, once again, is in all lowercase, single. It's lowercase, and it's not plural, it's singular. And it's in single quotes.
Yeah. Maybe one thing
did you have something
to add, Jim? Yeah,
Yep.
Maybe one thing to add here is you can parameterize level and the weekday of the first day of the week. So that comes in handy when you want to enable interactivity, for example, when you want your users to select the level of the date level we are looking at, then you can swap that written part with a parameter, and this way enable interactivity. And I think we will see that in your demo, Jim, as well, right?
We have one example of that. That's a very good point, Klaus. And yeah, that does come up often. I like to look at date functions and group them in my own mind anyway, based on the purpose that they serve. And I like to look at what they return as a result of the date function. There are functions that return an actual real date. That's date trunc and date parse, for example. And then there's a couple of date functions that are used to convert like strings into dates, like date and make date. There are other functions that return a reference to a date. They don't actually return a date, but they return a reference to it, like date name. Date name month for today, for example, is April. Date part month for today is 4. It's the 4th month of the year. It's not the actual date, but it's a reference to the date. And those include date name and date part and week and year and month and the like. There are a couple of functions that you use to do date math. You can add an increment to a date, for example, using date add, or you can take the difference between two dates using date difference. So you can find the period of time between the two dates. And then there's two special functions. There's today, which returns the date of today, and there's now that returns the date and time of today, and that's set by your system clock. So today returns date, now returns date and time. We're going to take a look at a demo now, and I'm going to switch screens here in just a second. And some of the things we're going to look at is we're going to look how to create a date function, how to use date functions. And we're going to take a look at different types of date functions like date name and date part and date trunc. Then we're going to look at strings and how to convert strings or text values into dates. We're going to use some examples with today and yesterday and the like. Do a little date math, and then we'll get into year-over-year calculations and the like. I'm going to change this view now, and you should be seeing a Tableau workbook now. And I want to start by just creating I just want to create a calculation at this point. Okay. And I want to calculate a date name. And you can see as I start writing this calculation, Tableau is making some suggestions. For those of you who may not be familiar with the calculation wizard, the calculation wizard is going to give us an example and it's going to show us how to do some calculations. And if we come up here in the dropdown and we take a look at date, these are all the date functions that are available to us. And as I start writing here, date name, I can select date name and it's going to tell us that date name is going to return the actual text for the name of the month. So I can come in, I can write date name at the month level based on the order date. And I'm using Superstore data here because you've got it available to you also. And we see that the calculation is correct. And I'm going to say okay, and I've got that right here. Okay. And you can see that calculation has returned the name of the month. Okay. I could have used date part here. And if I apply date part, you see it's returning that reference to the month. January is the 1st month of the year, December is the 12th month of the year, so it's returning date part. Or I could have used date trunc in the calculation. And date trunc is a very useful calculation because it returns the first date and time of the period that you're looking at. So the first date of January, for example, is January the 1st at 12 midnight. February is February the 1st. March is March the 1st. If we were to change the level that we're looking at, and you wanted to look at quarter, and we applied that, the date trunc quarter for January, February, and March is January 1st. For the second quarter, it's April 1st. For the third quarter, it's July 1st. date trunk is very useful when you're doing year-over-year or period-over-period calculations, because it takes all of the dates in January, February, and March, and you can now total those and aggregate those very, very easily.
Yeah.
I wanna
Jim,
take a
Jim, maybe
quick look
one thing
at-
to
Sure.
Jim, can I add one thing when you go back to that demo? When you have a date pill or a date field in the view, like for example, month of order date, Jim, can you go to that blue pill? I just wanted to show you yeah, go to that pill, please, and the white triangle. So can you hit that white triangle? Open the context on the right side. Yeah.
Yes.
There are two ways to there are two different years and or date levels in this context menu, and the first one is always referring to the date part. So year, quarter, month. A month is selected in this case, is showing us the date part also, and the second one is showing us the date trunk. So that is kind of a short way to doing the same thing than writing out that calculation.
Right. Excellent. Very good. That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay. Let's move on here now, and let's take a quick look at start of the week. And all I've got Superstore data here, and we're looking at dates for January 2021 and all the dates that are available, January, February, March, and so on. And I just dropped one function in here so that we could look at the weekday. I wanted to know what day of the week it was, and that's just the weekday function of the order date. So we can see that January 3rd was a Sunday, January 4th was a Monday, and the like. Now, if we wanted to look at these, and we wanted to look at the US default, we could write the US default, and we could take a look at the date trunk and get the actual date that the week starts based on a Sunday start date, and it would look something like this. And this is a month, day, week, and I was just holding down the right click as I drug that to the column, and it's going to show us that for a Sunday start week, January 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and up through the 9th are all 1 week, and it started on Sunday, January the 3rd. So that's when our week started. Now, if I wanted to change that and use a Monday start date, I would write the date trunk as Monday for the third argument. And as we drag that and bring it to the canvas, we see that now January the 3rd is in the week that actually started December 28th of 2020. And January 4th, which is the Monday, starts the week of January 4th, and it runs through the 10th. So that's how you would change the start date of a week if you were in a different part of the world, or for some reason your business wanted to start its week on Monday. You could do it this way. I want to take a real quick look at fiscal years, because I know some of you use fiscal years. Fiscal year is a big topic. It's a topic worthy of a whole session on itself, and there's been a lot of people write on fiscal years, including myself. But let's just take a look at the default and how the default works. And I want to show you that to create the default, you'd open up the date, come down to default property, fiscal year start, and I just selected July to start the fiscal year. Once I do that, you can see on a fiscal year basis, fiscal year 2021 starts in July and runs through June. 22 then starts in July and runs through June. Now, you have to be careful using fiscal years, because if I were to come in here and take a look at the quarter, and I just want to look at the quarter, and this function returns the quarter as an integer, and I just want to place the quarter. Oops, let's put it over here. You can see that the quarter is based on the calendar year. There are date functions, and many of the date functions don't recognize fiscal year designation. And I'll get questions out on the forum all the time, Klaus, and you might see these questions come up and they say, well, I've got a fiscal year and I did this and I'm not getting the right answer. Why am I not getting the right answer? It's because date functions don't necessarily recognize fiscal year designation. This is a function that you're going to see me use over and over again. Here's the date trunk for based on that order date. And you'll see that, and I want to show you here that at the year level, the year starts in January. 2020 started in January and runs through December. And 2021 starts in January and runs through December. It does not start on the fiscal year start of July. So you have to be careful when you use those. Now, Klaus, were you going to say something in here? I thought I heard you.
Yeah, no, I think you explained it perfectly. That can be really confusing working with fiscal years. So keep that in mind. And there are great blogs out there, including yours, Jim, that will help you deal with fiscal years.
Yeah, it's just too big of a topic for today to cover the whole thing today. Let's talk about converting strings, and this is another topic that comes up all the time, and questions that come up all the time. Users will they'll have a data set and they say, look, I've got dates and somehow I can't make my dates line up, and I can't make the dates aren't sorting right, and I can't get the difference between two dates. What's going on? And you look at the data and they have a month, which is a string. That's a string value, or text, okay? They'll have a day, which is a number, or they'll have a year, which is a number, and they're not real dates. What they are string values and excuse me, they're string values and they're text values. Well, we can convert. Oops. I'm sorry, I got the wrong one there. We can convert. There we go. We can convert the value, the string value, to a date value by using a function called date part or date parse. And date parse is a very useful function because you start out by telling Tableau what the format is that you're going to translate into a date. And here I used a string for the year and a string for the month and a string for the year or for the day. And I converted it using this format, year, month, and day. And when I do that, it converts to an actual date that you can use in a date function. There's another way of doing this, and Klaus was the one that showed me how to do this, is to do that in a calculation right here on the data source page. You can have a date that looks like this. And if Tableau senses that that's a date, it looks kind of like a date, even though it's a string value, you can go up and convert that to a date, and Tableau will convert that. It says, it's smart enough, it says, oh, you really wanted that to be a date, and it converts it to a date. And if we were to take that and place that on the Viz as a month, day, and year, once again, it's already converted for us. Klaus, I believe that conversion on the data source pane works with most data sources, but there are some it does not work with. Is that your understanding also?
I'm not really sure, but I think it should do pretty much the same like you just did with date parse. So when we now look at calculation 1, I think there should be a date parse or something like that wrapped around it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Jim. Sorry, we have some feedback. Oh, I apologize. We have some feedback from people who are watching that they want to increase, if you would be able to increase the font or zoom in a little bit because they're having.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. People are having difficulty kind of like seeing what you're showing, especially with the formulas and stuff. So if you can zoom in a little bit.
Okay, very good. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's take a look at that date parse formula. There. That better? There we go.
Yeah, sure.
And this is
Yeah.
the date parse formula that we were talking about. Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at the use of the special function today. And very simple function. Today is just today with parents around it. And if I look at today, today is April the 1st, 2023. We also get a lot of requests for yesterday. They say, well, I'd like to, how do I determine what yesterday is? Well, no great surprise. Yesterday is just today minus 1. Okay. You could do this with a date add, decrementing today by 1 using date add as a function, or you can just do it this way. People also want to look at this current year. The current year is nothing more than the function year wrapped around the today function. And you might have guessed that last year is this year minus 1. I bring this up because these become very useful when we start doing year-over-year calculations. Now I want to take a look here at calculating the difference between 2 days. And I've got a data set that's got a start date and an end date. And I'm going to open up, we're going to calculate the difference at the day level and show you how this function works. The function is date difference, and date difference takes the difference at the level, and we've selected day here, at the level of day, between the start date and the end date. And if we take a look at that first value there, it's come back and it says it's 0. But we can see that the difference is actually 13 hours. And it's important to understand what is happening here. Date difference is taking the integer difference between the start date and the end date. Both of these started on the 18th of January. And the integer difference between the 18th of January and the 18th of January is 0. And that's the value that you get here. Not the value that you wanted, but it is the value that will be returned out of this calculation. Now, to get the value that you wanted, you would do something like look at a lower level, like I can look at the hour level here between the start and the end. And I can see that the hour difference between 10 a.m. and 11 p.m. is 13 hours. I will also get the second value, which is 3 days and 14 hours, is actually 86 hours and so on. And once again, it's probably not what you wanted to see, but it's the value that's going to be returned out of the date difference function. You can convert that by dividing by 24 and come up with values that look like this, that you get 0.54 of a day and 3.58 of a day. And you can use this, you can do math with it, but it may be that you wanted to end up with a function that looked like this, where you ended up with 0 days and 13 hours or 3 days and 14 hours, for example. And there's a way to do that. Understand you're making a string. You no longer have dates and times, but you have a string. And that's done by taking this date difference divided by 24 and taking the integer part of that, converting it to a string, get the 0, 3, or 17, plus concatenating in days, and then taking what's left over after you divide by 24. And I always say this function name wrong. I always call that modulo, and that's probably said incorrectly, but it's a function that you won't find listed in over here in the list of functions. But if you divide by the whole number here by 24, what's left over, or what was the remainder, if you will, is what's returned in this function. So I'll get here 0 days and 13 hours, 17 days and 13 hours, for example. And that's how you can go about converting a date time to a duration back as strings. Okay. Now this was something that Klaus was mentioning before. And we parameterize the value in this state function. I'm going to take a look at date trunk at a level that's provided by this parameter of the order date. And when we do that, we can look at the year level, or we can look at, I've created a month level, and I've created a quarter level. And people ask for this quite often. They want to be able to create a chart like this, or maybe a text table, and they want to be able to look at it at different levels and let the user very easily change between different levels. You start by creating a parameter. And the important part of the parameter is that the value of that you're going to pass into the function is lowercase singular. If you remember when we talked about the syntax for the date function, that argument is lowercase singular. So this has to be year, not years. It has to be all lowercase, month and quarter. Once we do that, we can drop that right here as the level in the date trunk formula, and it allows us to change that date function simply with the use of a parameter. Okay, let's move on to year-over-year calculations and show how we can use some of these things that we've been looking at. The simplest way to do a year-over-year calculation is to use a table calculation. We'll open up the caret here, do a quick table calculation, the percent difference, and that gives us the difference between the current value and the preceding value. If we were to, the current value of the cell minus the preceding value divided by the preceding value. I'm just going to drop that back on there. Now, that certainly gives us that values, but we find very often that users don't want to see that blank there. They want that blank to disappear. And you can come in here and you can hide that, but when you do it, it also hides the initial sales value, and they really don't want to see that. What they'd like to see is they'd like to see year over year based on any date that they select. Well, one way of using the way you can calculate the total, or the total for any day of the year, or I'm going to use today as the end date, is you can take the date trunk, and you can take the date trunk of the order date, and if it's equal, the date trunk, if the year of the order date is equal to the year of today, and the day of the order date is less than the day of today, and sum the sales at that level, we'll get the sales, the year-to-date sales. We can also do that with date part, and I've done it two different ways here. And this is a case where we take the same type of formula, we're checking to see that the date part, or the integer value for the year of the order date, is the same as the integer value of today, and the day of the year for the order date is less than the day of the year today. Then we'll get the total from those as sales also. So there's two different ways of getting those year-over-year values. If you've ever written a question into the forum and asked about doing year-over-year calculations, and I've responded to it, you probably got a response that tells you to use LOD expressions and a parameter, and because that's my personal favorite way of doing it, and it seems to work best in a whole lot of cases. I've just set up a parameter for an end date, and I've set the parameter end date to today. And then I've used that same formula that we just used, but I've used it as an LOD expression. And I've taken that, if the year of today is equal to the year of the parameter, and the day of the date is less than or equal to the date of the parameter, sum those values, and I included it in a LOD expression for the category. And I've done the same for the prior year. And the only difference here for the prior year is we've made use of another date function, the date add function, where we've taken 1 year, we've taken a look at the parameter date, and we said, I want to look at last year, so I'm going to make 1 year less than the parameter date, and take a look at date trunc for the day based on 1 year less than the parameter date, and take those totals also. We've got this year, we've got last year, year to date, and it can do the year-over-year calculation the same way as we've done in the past, where you take the current year minus the prior year divided by the prior year. And that's done with LODs, and we can, because our LODs are entirely portable, and we can look at different levels because I've used the include function here. I think
we need to.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Jim, I think we will need to cover LODs in one of our upcoming meetings, and we haven't talked about them so far. Yeah, and also I think we have to move on to Simon. So great presentation, Jim.
Let me move on to the. There we go. Okay, Klaus, you want to introduce Simon?
Yes, I love to introduce Simon. Hello, Simon. First of all, thanks for taking the time to be here with us. And yeah, we're really honored to have you here, and I'm happy to introduce you. So Simon is a business intelligence director at JLL, and a crucial part of the Tableau Center of Excellence. He thinks that a successful group should focus not only on technical skills, but also on constantly improving, being creative, and working together. All things that Simon has been doing excellently during his involvement with the Tableau community. And Simon is a Tableau community superstar. He was way too humble to mention all the honors he received for his work in the community. He's a 5-time Tableau visionary, a Tableau public ambassador, and competed on the biggest stage at TC 2020, I think, where he made it to the Iron Viz final. Simon is a true data champion, an award for which he was shortlisted at the Data IQ Awards in 2021, one of the most prestigious awards in the data industry. But most of all, Simon is a sports geek. In 2018, he combined his love for data and sports and co-founded Sports with Sunday, a community data visualization initiative to help showcase the amazing sporting visualizations created across the Tableau community and to help connect like-minded individuals. And last but not least, he is the creative mind, the technical mastermind, the person behind PO4, Pompeii Stats, a Twitter and Tableau public account that analyzes all sorts of things related to Portsmouth Football Club. Simon, you might have to explain that a tiny little bit, but anyway, the stage is yours.
Okay,
I wasn't going to even mention you being an England fan, Klaus, but after that comment, I might. But thank you for the very kind introduction.
Okay.
Just bear with me 2 seconds. I will share my screen.
Okay, and one additional thing about Simon, he's one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet. And he's really a good guy. So if you see him at TC, just walk up to him and say hi.
Klaus, could you just confirm you can see my screen okay?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Perfect. So it's great to see you all, and thank you for the kind introductions, Klaus, and also Jim and the team for inviting me. So today I'm going to share how at Jones Lang LaSalle, which is the company I'm honoured to work for, we build a world-class data culture, which is primarily around people. So whilst I'm going to be sharing you how we use that to attract, retain, and recruit talent, actually, there's a lot of things that, regardless of where you are in your Tableau journey, hopefully you will be able to take away from the next 30 minutes or so and apply them in your data journey, whether it be your personal growth or the growth of the organization you work for. So let's consider that the climate that we are in today. ZipRecruiter did a study of more than 2,000 workers aged 25 to 54, and it showed that 20% of people anticipate leaving their current job within a year. And if you take that forward from 1 to 2 years, another 26% only 26% expect to stay. And for those changing jobs, 64% said their new job paid more. And nearly 10% are making at least what they did in their prior job. Now, what does that all add up to? So 10% are making at least 50% more. Why do I share that all with you? Because what it means is we are in a very, very aggressive climate when it comes to the people that we work with, whether that be your data professionals you work with, or whether it be your consumers that you are providing a service to. And what that means is we have to make data stand out within the organization that we work in to make sure that we're the place people want to engage with data and grow their career. So at JLL, we embrace our people. It is the biggest strength. I hate to say this in a Tableau user group, but Tableau is not the reason that people come to work for JLL. Hopefully the reason that people come to work for JLL is our culture and the way that we embrace data. And what that's meant over the years, our turnover of data professionals has only been 7.5%. It started in 2020 at 2.2, and it did actually go up in 2021. It went up to 11.2, and that might be alarming. And yeah, it was to us, but we looked at the data and there was an internal reorganization that caused some of that uncertainty. And when that reorganization had settled back down, last year it went back down to 2.8. Now I'm sharing with you this data for a reason, because we use data in JLL to look at our workforce, and we look at it to monitor our attrition rates. So this is our attrition rates. This is anonymized data out of our Workday HR system, and we export that and put it into Tableau so that we can start to look at how turnover is happening by year, by gender, by tenure. And what that allows us to do is take data-driven decisions to win at employee retention. So how do we drive those figures? What is it in JLL that we do in terms of data culture to retain our people? And as I said, this is where I'd encourage you. Not all of it is going to be applicable to individuals within different roles or organizations, but please think about how you could apply some of these learnings into your organization. So we look at it, we attract talent, we recruit talent. When we recruit, we onboard. When someone's onboarded, we embrace continuous learning. And then what we try and do is promote from within. So when we've got talent, we want to make sure that we give those people the opportunity to grow. So let's focus on attracting talent. So when TC went virtual during COVID, and we had our first ever virtual conference, obviously all of us were really down. We couldn't see each other in person. We couldn't get that buzz that we're all going to get hopefully next month when we're together in Vegas. But what we recognized is that was an ideal opportunity to promote the JLL data brand. So what we said is we actually used a platform called Credly to be able to issue our people with a Data 20 badge that said, hey, if you're part of JLL, we will give you dedicated time out to be able to embrace TC and enjoy it. You may not be able to be there in person, but what that gives us is the opportunity to every single one of our data people to attend TC virtually. And if you're working in an organization where you're thinking, I can't go to Vegas next month, I would encourage you, ask your line manager or your leader a dedicated time out of your diary to be able to watch sessions on Salesforce Plus as they happen, so you can still connect with your peers, you can still enjoy virtual content, but you're not doing it with the noise of everyday work around you. So at JLL, we actively encourage people to block out the days of TC so they can enjoy conference, they can come together. But when we do that, we will actually issue a badge to say, hey, you were part of something bigger in terms of the JLL data family, enjoying TC together and learning together. And we actually did this as well. We issued badges to external people. So what we also did, as is demonstrated here, we used the JLL data fan hashtag, and we gave people a form to be able to fill out to say, hey, you're enjoying TC, come and be a virtual part of our experience, even though you don't work for JLL. And we asked people to fill in data about themselves. So nothing personal, not in terms of what salary they're looking for, but what was their experience? Where were they based? What kind of roles are they looking for? And we had 135 people in 2021 actually fill that form out. We issued the virtual badges, we created that buzz. 40 of them turned out to be serious candidates, and 6 of them now actually work for us. If you consider the amount of money it would take to recruit 6 people, a simple badge and a simple kind of community initiative beyond our shores to embrace others allowed us to attract talent as part of the TC process. Now, we actually, surprisingly enough, we help people see and understand data, and we're a data company. So we took that data and we analysed it internally. We took that data and we said, where are people based? What kind of roles are they looking for? What certification have they got? What Alteryx certification have they got? And we actually went one step further. We connected to the Tableau public API, because for those people that provided their Tableau public profile, we actually took and scraped their images to be able to say, let's look at the talent of their Tableau public profile. And that was a real in terms of understanding where people were in their Tableau journey. I think Klaus and Jim and the team would all agree, never hide your first visit in Tableau public, because from where you were to where you are today is a great opportunity to showcase your personal growth and how you've embraced the community to learn and grow through participation in initiatives and wider learning from others. And we also issued swag. So we know everyone loves some swag, other than Neil Richards, who's one of our Tableau visionaries that worked for us. He didn't clearly get the message because he wasn't wearing his JLL Data Fan t-shirt. But we gave the people that were attending TC in person from our teams the ability to wear a t-shirt, just so again, it got people noticed, it got the connections working, it got the conversation flowing. And it was a great way to promote our brand amongst the thousands of people that went to TC and enjoyed Tableau conference in person. So beyond the attracting, we also have a BI strategy that fundamentally provides the backbone in terms of how we operate as a team. So what do we do within JLL with BI? Well, inherently, we want to maximize the margin potential related to BI. So using data, we improve compliance, we reduce costs, we increase productivity with a resulting increase in our margin. We simplify the central structure. So we build out operational scale and efficiencies. That means the hundreds of BI analysts that work for us no longer work in their own little individual silos of their teams. They're part of something bigger that has a consistent way of working so they can learn from each other. And we identify best practice. So when we know we do something well, we don't just hold it and do it for that team. We identify the valuable analytical content and promote it across the organization so that we drive standards, we drive best practice, and we grow the organization through the great work and talent that each individual person is doing. And all of that's achievable because we don't just have outstanding people, we have an outstanding community of people. And we bring that community together to support skills development and provide a clear career pathway through our organization. So we've talked about attracting talent through our culture and our strategy and the badges and the ability to participate in the community as an organization. How do we then actually go about recruiting them? Well, we go back to the data that I shared with you earlier. We look at the badges and the forms that were filled in. But we go one step further. There's a gentleman in the Tableau community called Josh Tapley. Josh is a data leader at Comcast and is one of my absolute heroes when it comes to data leadership and how you embrace data within a large organization. But why do I share Josh's name right now? Because Josh runs something called the Cerebro Project. And that's a Tableau Public author tracking tool that is available for you all to view in Tableau Public. He tracks in excess of about 140,000 Tableau users. So that's Tableau Public users. Scrapes the data using the Tableau Public API and allows a dashboard in Tableau Public for you to explore by country, by people that are up and coming in terms of the most recent number of favored visits. And you can actually click on people's profiles directly from this tool. Why do I share that with you? Because when we've got a vacancy in Seattle or London or Chicago or to here, and we will search for those cities to see who are the up and coming authors in the Tableau Public community. And we will actively look on their profiles. Have they got the hire me button? Are they engaged on the community in Twitter? If they are, we'll reach out to them and say, hey, we've got a role, would you be interested? And it's a great way of demonstrating how you can use data to help your organization recruit talent. And if you're looking for an organization to work for, don't forget, this is a great opportunity for you to put your brand out there on Tableau Public and demonstrate what you can do with data to be noticed by organizations that are looking for you. So don't ever underestimate how powerful Tableau Public can be in helping your personal brand attract new positions and grow you as an individual. And then how do we onboard people? So we talked about attracting, we talked about recruitment. And someone that is living in Australia. Fee leads our SET team. So that's strategy, enablement, and technology. And as part of the SET team, she defines how we onboard someone. And she talks about the end-to-end life cycle of that onboarding. Because what we want is for when someone joins JLL, they don't just join in a role, they join in a community. So they receive a mail package from us with some JLL material, some JLL swag that is all data related. And it helps them feel part of something bigger. So all new recruits receive an introduction to our programs and are introduced on our team site. So that's our Microsoft team site. And I'll share with you a little bit more about that later. They're introduced to our standards, our design best practices for our dashboards, and even our color palette. And in the first week, they have a meeting with one of our regional enablement leads. And that lead takes them through the training, the community, as well as our data culture and our vision. So everyone is ingrained in the same approach, the same values, so we all have a common purpose. And whenever a new employee starts, whether they're a direct report or 4 levels down through the organization, our leaders also make a point of welcoming them and having personal time with them as an introduction, and it creates a strong first impression. And we also talk about our culture of data. And Fee and myself have presented at previous Tableau conferences. So if you would like to search more about our approach to a culture of data, I'll give you a couple of minutes today, but you can go on to previous Tableau conference presentations. And I think it was in TC20 that Fee and I spoke, and we actually talk about and share a bit more of that in detail. But consider this problem statement. JLL's BI team needs a way to understand what's important, because keeping everyone on the same page is difficult, especially when there are multiple deliveries constantly in flux and everyone works in different time zones. Some people are remote, some are in person, and everyone's got their own priorities. Well, how do we overcome that? We define a vision. And you know what? It's not an original one. We help people see and understand their data. That is exactly the same vision that Tableau talk about. And we didn't think we could do it any better, so we deliberately took it. And we bring people and data together to drive insights. We leverage tools for automation. And this helps JLM and our clients improve their productivity, increasing the value delivered. And that vision is something that we all hold as our kind of North Star of where we strive to. But beyond our vision, we also define our values. And this is the thing that I'm most proud about. This says about how are we going to work. So we are underpinned by 4 core values: customer focus, collaboration, integrity, and courage. I'm not going to read those words for you on the screen. Hopefully you can see them for yourselves and you can take it in. But the one I would just like to pull out on is courage. Courage for me is the thing that stands us out from the crowd. It's the thing that says, as analysts, we employ you because we believe in you and we want you to take risks. Don't sit there and just accept the status quo. Look and say, how can we work better? And side by side with courage, I also say is curiosity. We want people to be curious. We want them to be thinking, so what? What next? How could I do this better? And we actively encourage people to say, if something doesn't seem right, speak up. Be courageous. We would rather hear from you. We feel as though it's worse to sit there in silence and accept something than it is to put your hand up and challenge things. And that for me is what really makes me proud to work for JLL. And we've also got a plan on a page, and this is more customer facing. So what our plan on a page does is define our vision. I've talked about that, is to help people see and understand data. It defines our ambition, which is to be the smartest when it comes to data, insights, and technology. Our cause is to transform data into actionable insights to accelerate performance, satisfaction, and value across our accounts. I've just talked about our values. We also have a strategic intent, which is to drive return on BI investment through improved compliance, reduced costs, increased productivity, and uplift in satisfaction. And then we define a number of key priorities that help us say, what are we going to focus on this year? And all of that is shared with our stakeholders, so they are brought into our journey and they are an equal part of it. This isn't BI developing and delivering content. This is a partnership with a business sponsor what we do. So we attract, we recruit, we train and onboard. What happens when you're with us for a longer term? We also embrace continuous learning. We do that through things such as storytelling with data. So if those of you that don't know Cole Nafalik-Nausbammer, Cole runs storytellingwithdata.com. It is one of the best resources out there for learning. It's got absolutely nothing to do with Tableau. Just so happens we use Tableau for data. What Cole's about is how do we tell stories with data to elevate the insights and drive action. And a lot of Cole's storytelling with data monthly challenges are a great way to learn because they don't focus on the technical how-to, they focus on the more fundamental kind of foundational pillars of how do you take data and engage people? How do you highlight the insights? And she will focus on things like a line chart or a bar chart and say, how do we make the best possible bar chart that elevates our data? So again, another problem statement. JLL's BI team needs a way to empower our analysts with continuous learning because technology is constantly evolving and people are hungry to learn. So how do we do that? We identify opportunities to learn. We're specific about the skills you need for your team to learn and develop the programs with the feedback. And the way that we do that is through playbooks and gamification. So Fee's actually published, I would check out something called Tableau Quest, an Aldrich adventure. That's a gamification program that supports the journey of someone from rookie to rockstar. And it embraces community initiatives, it embraces online learning to mean that anyone can start JLL as a data rookie and we will empower them with the skills to be able to grow, not through paying for training, not through paying for conferences. Of course, we would love to do that for everyone, but we employ 100 people. How can we support those 100 BI professionals to grow in a virtual environment? And we also embrace automation. So if we can reduce the touch points for management reviews, we will do so. We will reinforce awesome work, but we'll do it through giving feedback in a positive way. And we use the terms I like and I suggest to mean that actually feedback is not fearful for people, it's something that they embrace. And we need a way to collaborate online easily, because especially during COVID, it means we can't be in the office together all the time. So even though hopefully we're on the other side of COVID now, the challenges still remain. People are still working from home. They're still working in a hybrid environment. This challenge is still valid. And how do we do that? We unite the community. We have platforms to collaborate. So Microsoft Teams, for instance, start planning how to collaborate and give people the tools and the training. As leaders, we jumped on first to define how we structure our Microsoft Teams site so it was easy for people to adapt and they can listen to their feedback. We also make sure we give internal, external recognition. So when people do a good job, we praise them internally and we help celebrate them externally through community, through case studies, through external awards. And we reinforce greatness. So when people take that first step in learning or sharing, it can be frightening. They're opening themselves up to criticism. They're opening themselves up to other opinions. We encourage the behaviours to be such that actually it's a safe place to learn, it's a safe place to grow, and it's a safe place to work collaboratively. So if I click the other arrow to go forward, not backwards, here's an example of our team site. This was a post that was made for fee, recognising someone to achieve their Alteryx core certification. And you'll notice there multiple people going on and reinforcing that behaviour of celebrating that individual's achievement. Even though I didn't work directly with those people, I still wanted to go in and say thank you, say well done, and recognise that their growth is JLL's growth. And then we promote. So we actively look at our internal team. And last year we promoted 23 of our 150 team members. And we do that because we ensure that everyone has a career path beyond their current role, whether that's from an analyst to a senior analyst to a specialist, or a specialist to a manager. We embrace that and we say we will personalise your career growth to allow you to grow. And you can actually apply that to your stakeholders as well. Look at the stakeholders that are actively engaged and identify who should be the champion, who should be the person that you're engaging with to elevate them. And one of the proudest moments I had was when someone that I worked with as a finance colleague was using Tableau every day. And she actually reached out to me and said, I can't believe more of my colleagues don't do this. You're making my life so enjoyable. I'm able to use data for a purpose. Why are they all still using Excel? We actually gave that person access to Tableau Web Edit so that they can actually start to engage with the data themselves. And 18 months later, they have now been onboarded as a senior analyst specialising in finance, directly working in my team. And that's a prime example of how you as data people can make a difference to your stakeholders when there are champions out there who want to embrace data and want to grow through data within their career. So in terms of what that means by the numbers, just want to put this into context. We don't recruit people based on title. Just because you're a Tableau visionary or an Alteryx ace doesn't mean you come and work for JLL. However, it does mean that if you're likely to be a Tableau ambassador, you're likely to be engaged in Tableau Public, you are likely to have the same values that we have around community, collaboration, growth, and curiosity. So it isn't a coincidence that we have so many visionaries, aces, and ambassadors in JLL, because we believe that shows the shared values and it's an attractive place to work. And we have got someone in IronViz this year. Klaus was very kind to say I was on the IronViz stage. Yeah, I was. I didn't win. Klaus did in TC Europe, and it was one of the most enjoyable sessions I watched those years ago, seeing Klaus do an amazing viz about the McDonald's price index. We've got someone called Brittany who is participating in IronViz this year in the final, so hopefully that one will become two. But every time someone achieves a viz of the day, every time someone becomes a Tableau ambassador, we will actively celebrate that internally because we believe that's what makes us a USP in terms of a Tableau data company, is the talent and the people that we have. So just to summarize up and wrap that up in terms of bringing it all together. As I said, the way that we build a world-class data culture that helps us win at employee retention is we attract, but that begins even before someone makes an application. We recruit, and we understand things like pay gaps and ethnicity and gender makeup. We look at our stats. We have a plan on a page that means we've got our values, our priorities already defined that acts as our North Star. When we onboard, we take it seriously. We make sure we reach out. We make sure that we make people feel welcome and they feel part of something bigger, but they understand how their contribution benefits the wider organization. And we spend time with them to ensure they know our standards, our best practices. When you're with us, we upskill you. We support you to train. We support you in your internal and external recognition, and we give you time to learn. We dedicate that opportunity to mean you don't have to do it amongst your other priorities. And then once you're with us, we promote, and we make sure that when we've got talent, we absolutely optimize it so you've got a chance to grow as individuals. And regardless if you take all of that away or you take one thing away, hopefully there's something there that you as individuals can take into your personal growth or your organization's growth to help you in your data journey. Thank you, Klaus. That was everything. Yeah, thank you for having me, and hopefully you found that useful.
Yeah, thank you, Simon, for a very inspiring talk. Lots of comments in the chat, how inspiring that talk was. Maybe one question that came to my mind, if you allow, Simon, how important is it, or was it, or has it been for you that there is something like the Tableau community out there? What I was specifically wondering is, would this have been possible with another tool like Power BI in the very same way, or what kind of role has played the Tableau community?
I'm surprised Bevy doesn't put a beep on when you say that word, and kind of it's not like a swear word when you're on a Tableau. If I'm honest, I think it would have been possible, but I think it would have been a lot more difficult. If I give my personal example, I worked in the National Health Service for 20 years, and I lived and breathed Excel. When you cut me, I would have bled green, because that's what we use as an organization. I embraced Tableau and I deployed it in that organization. And actually, I've ended up in JLL because I presented at a Tableau user group, and Paul Chapman, who is our equivalent of a CDO, heard that journey and said, I want you to come and work for me. And I've done the same. Adam Green works for me. I employed him because I saw what he was doing on Tableau Public, and I heard him present, and I said, I want you to work for me. So I think any community, regardless of the tool that you've got, can help elevate yourselves. But the Tableau community, because it is so engaged and it's so open and welcoming, those connections that you create through a tug like this, where you've got 230 people on a call, seeing yourself in the chat, you go, oh, who are you? And you click on their profile. It helps create those connections that then make growth in your personal career or your organization a lot easier, because you're learning from others. I fundamentally believe I didn't end up as a director in JLL because I know all the answers. I can promise you the community knew all the answers, and I just stole them.
Yeah. That's it. Absolutely. I fully agree, Simon. Okay. Do we have other open questions? Yeah, Jim.
I was just going to say, I think Laura's ready with the quiz.
Jim, I have really bad news. I'm just kidding. I do have the quiz ready. Can you guys hear me? I realize there's some issues with my audio.
Yes.
Okay.
We're hearing
I
you.
told you
hear
it's
you.
not ready, but it should be ready by now. Let me see. I need to show my screen. Give me a minute, guys. Okay.
So while we wait Laura to share her screen, just a quick note. After the event, you all will receive a post-event feedback form. And in that, there will be one question asking you if you are interested to join the Newbie tag, and there you can share your email ID. Okay. So we have already taken note of the ones who have already shared their email IDs to Laura, but just to follow.
Yeah, I took notes of everybody. I asked people to DM me just so I can keep track of them easier instead of going through the chat. So I'm copying all your information and keeping it with me. So it's secure. I don't want people to leave their emails in the chat if they were not comfortable with it. Okay, I will be starting the Kahoot now, and I'm gonna share my screen really quick. Give me a minute. Let me see. If I start, I'm not sure when I'm gonna click on start, and then I will click the I'll put the link in the chat. So give me a minute, guys. Okay, once I start, I'm gonna let ready so that everybody can join. Okay. It's loading the game pin. So here we are, guys. Let me know if you can hear me.
Gotcha.
So I shared the link for Kahoot in the chat, and then I'm gonna copy the link in here. Awesome. We have people joining. If some of the questions don't make sense, let me know. But I hope they do.
They do, Laura, don't worry, they do.
Thank you. I made Viraj check for me because I wasn't sure. Okay, how many people? Well, I'll wait until we have at least 80 people. Okay. Just give it a minute because we're going to be finishing. Okay, we have 90. That's great. Oh, wow. I will be starting this in like 30 seconds. So if you guys want to sign in, please feel free to.
You can use the QR code to join in as well.
Yeah. That's easier. I'm going to wait until we get it. 2 more people if you want to join so I can get it to 100. 1 more person, please. You're good. It's 99. Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to start now and let's see where this goes. Okay.
Nice. There we go.
Okay, starting.
2, 1.
Okay, it's a quiz. Let's see. It's a multi-select one. So what is the date function syntax? One of the earliest questions that Jim mentioned. Zero, 42 people. Oh yeah, I had 2 different choices for this, so you could choose either of them and then you would get them right. So awesome. And let me see. I'm gonna want to, let's see who.
Okay.
Josh.
Josh.
Awesome. Let's see. Let's go on to the next one. This is a mention by Jim. I'm not sure if he went into detail, but it was one of the last things that he tried to go over. Zero. Oh, awesome. A lot of people got that right.
Yes.
Let's see who has. Oh,
Okay.
T. Hudson. Awesome.
T. Hudson.
Okay, it's a true or false. Can you guys do this or no? 71, okay. That's pretty fun. Ooh, yes, we can convert string to dates, guys. So I think Jim went over this, and you will be able to find this in the recording. He went over it really quick, but yes. Let's see who. Oh, okay. T. Hudson, you're still
Yes, it's still there.
yeah. Awesome. We'll go on to the next question. Awesome. So yeah, let's see who's. Yeah, so like when Jim mentioned, there was a quarter. Oh, T. Hudson, awesome. There was like quarters. There's like
Still holding the
weeklies,
fort.
Yeah, T. Hudson, you're holding the fort. Awesome. Let's go on to the next one. Jim specifically went over this in the middle of the presentation that he did. So let me see if everybody paid attention. Awesome. Yay. Let's see who is still. Oh, T. Hudson, you're still.
Oh, nice.
And 26 people have reached answer streak 3. Awesome. Let me see. And
Oh, nice image you got.
it was one of the ones that was on the Kahoot image.
Okay.
I didn't know what this was, COE. I never looked into it, so I thought it was called to end up movies. Awesome. It's not a predictive modeling technique, guys, so I just put that to look fancy. So let's see. Is it still? Ooh, Jimmy. Okay. T. Hudson, you kind of went down a point. Let's see. I'm going to go on to the next one. This is a fun question, I think. Pertains to me personally, but.
Oh, this was interesting. And I think
I'm sure people are offended by one of the choices. Sorry, Raj.
No, I'm going to follow his advice and I'm going to unhide my first quiz.
Yeah, you can always. Awesome. Yeah, I had 2 answers and a lot of people got them right. Awesome. Yeah, no, don't do that. I don't know why people chose 13. If they're following the joke. Don't hoard all pieces like me, but that's just me. Okay, and now
Okay,
there's
this one is interesting.
I'm trying to see who's going to the conference or not.
I'm attending virtually.
Yeah, so I just put that as a choice. But there might be people are not aware that might be. Okay. Oh no, you're not going. You can always attend virtually. So, but yes, let's see. Let's see the podium.
Oh, we had some thought. And first, check it up. Hey, congrats, Jimmy.
Congrats, everybody. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Nice one. Sure.
Okay, good. Congratulations, Jimmy. And Jim, do you want to bring the presentation up again?
Me? Do you want me to share it again, or
Jim, you're on mute.
Jim's? I think Jim was frozen about it.
Sorry, I'll bring it up right now. There we go. Now our next meeting is going to be in June. It's going to be on June the 8th, so you can mark it on your calendar now. You'll be getting a announcement. It'll come through Bevy, and you can sign up on Bevy. Now I forgot, was it 15 people who are going to be at TC, going to be in Las Vegas? Stop by and see
12.
Klaus. Stop by and see Klaus and I. We'll not only be doing a presentation, but you can find us in the village there. Love to meet you. Always love to talk to people who are attending the newbie group. Take a photo. Klaus, you have anything?
Yeah, thanks all to all for attending today's meeting. So we're still learning with Bevy. That was the first time today. I think we learned a little bit. Next time, yeah, we will maybe do some things different. But yeah, thanks for making the transition to Bevy and for being with us today. Thanks again, Simon, for taking the time to be here with us today. Really enjoyed your presentation. And like Jim said, I'm really looking forward to meeting some of you at conference. Stop by, say hi, and maybe we can even have a drink somewhere and talk about all things Tableau.
Yeah, Bevy is
And
just
for those who are attending virtually, there would be a virtual catch-up session. So keep an eye on the social media about this, and hope to meet you there.
Yeah, we can have a virtual
I'm
beverage.
attending TC. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank
It was
you,
very,
everybody.
it was a very nice session. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Simon.
Simon, thank you so much for presenting today.
Thank you so much,
All right,
Simon.
Jim, not a problem. Look forward to grabbing a beer in Vegas in a few weeks.
Looking forward
Thank
to
you,
seeing you
everybody.
again.
Yeah, looking
Cheers,
forward to
thank
seeing you there, Simon.
See you then.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Klaus, I did hear
Bye, everyone.
from my Tika